right, we're recording and live.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We will officially start this meeting of the Newburyport Historical Commission in just a minute. We're going to allow several seconds or so for additional members or members of the public to join. So let me just give allow a moment or two here. Let's see, we do have one. We've just barely made a quorum, but the thing is, okay, well, would have been good. Now, was this the one that Andrew said he's out of town, right? Is that right, Caitlin?
That's right. We are waiting for Mark and Malcolm, you said, but we do have 4 for a quorum to begin.
Yeah, Malcolm did. Mark said he would attend. All right, well, we'll give another. I don't see any attendees, so we're not holding anybody up, so we can wait just a minute. I should have a little sound file of that, the syncopated clock to play during this time. So we're just sitting here waiting. Well,
can I ask a question? Have we started the meeting?
We haven't officially started it. No.
But, well, Mark's.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping. Oh, okay, there's Mark. All right, why don't I kick it off now, Chris?
Let's see. All right, and, I'll save it. It's not an emergency. I'll save it.
Okay.
Go ahead and start.
So, okay, we're going to officially start now this virtual meeting of the Newburyport Historical Commission for the 25th of August, 2022. Please note that this proceeding, like all these virtual meetings, is being recorded. So, going through the attendance, I believe I see Mr. Biff Baus, correct?
Yes, yep. I'm here.
Okay, very good. We have your audio. Don't see Malcolm yet, so we'll hold off on him. Mark Cendrone, I think I saw you in there. Okay, you are here. Good. Good evening. Joe Morgan, you are here, correct? Okay, Christopher Fay is here, right? And we got your audio, and the chair is here. So let me just make a little note here. 1 second, because I'll need to do one quick thing here. Okay. So I'll skip the usual rigmarole. I don't think there's going to be public hearings tonight, so I'll skip that discussion. And I don't see anybody in the attendee list, so we can move right along and keep this meeting nice and tidy and short, and you guys can go about your lives. But thank you for coming in, because especially Biff and I know Joe, this is a topic near and dear to your heart when we get to it. After we just go quickly through a couple of other quick orders of business here. There was a demolition delay application for 26 Eagle Street, and the planning office received a letter requesting that they would continue without prejudice, that they can continue refining their plans. So is there someone, could someone make a motion to continue that? We can vote on that and take care of that one.
So move.
Is that Mark, I believe?
That's Mark.
Okay, thanks, Mark. And is there a second?
And I can second that.
Okay, that was Biff, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Okay, your vote, Biff?
Yes.
Okay, Mark?
Yes.
Okay, Joe Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, Christopher Fay?
Yes.
Okay, the chair is affirmative. So, hang on a second, I missed something here. So we have, so that motion passes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 affirmative votes for being the minimum necessary to pass. So that vote is approved, and it will be continued to, I believe it will be September 8th. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, I'll make a note here. September. They didn't say they needed more time than that, did they, Caitlin?
Nope. To September 8th is their continuance request.
Very good. So that is, we can move on from that one. We have 2 items of correspondence. No action required on our part. One is about this request for comments on the telecommunications facility at 37.5 Forester Street. That's that professional building on Forester Street. You may know it. It is under a preservation restriction, and they're planning to do some work on the roof, having to do with cellular antennas and related equipment. So I believe they're required to, well, Andy Port is looking into that because there may be some special requirements because of the preservation restriction above and beyond just getting comment. Quite often when projects like this are underway, there's some, like, I don't know if it's section 106, I don't know, there's some legal requirement that they get a determination from the Historical Commission that there's no adverse impact of the work they're doing. So that's to be, they couldn't make this meeting, they'll try to come to a future meeting. I guess they're not in a huge hurry to get that work done. The second is a letter. This is another FYI item. The Massachusetts Historical Commission has sent a letter to the city regarding the Market Landing Park Phase 1. And the Historical Commission has determined that the Market Landing Park Expansion Phase 1 project will have no adverse effect on the historic properties as described in the letter. So not a big surprise there. They're basically saying that I don't think this is strictly the visitor center that we talked about a couple of weeks back. I think it's park expansion in general, but they were reviewing that. And I think that is one of those, maybe, Caitlin, is it section 106? There's some provision of, it's either, I think it's mass law, that when there's, let's see, put a notification form. Yeah, there it is. According to that, legal requirement there, that I think it's a Massachusetts law, that when there's state funds involved, they have to get a finding there, and they have done so. Caitlin, do you happen to know what that, in a nutshell, what that phase 1 includes? Because I don't think it's just the that visitor center. I think it involves, some of the expansion of parks where there's parking lots and so on. Do you happen to know?
Yep. Well, it does say right here, just so I'm consistent.
Okay.
So it says the phase 1 project includes the creation of park space and connection of the Clipper City Rail Trail, shared use bike path project, two
Okay.
pedestrian walkways, seating, public art, and historical interpretive panels.
Yep.
So this right
Okay.
here is the scope.
Yep. Okay. So no surprise there that they've determined there's no adverse impact there. Okay. So that is that. No action required on our part. So the last sort of business item, and Andy had another conflicting meeting, so he couldn't be here. But Caitlin, do you have the updated chart? So what happened was, and that in previous meetings there's been a lot of discussion about this, and I tried to explain in the original flow chart there was, and in the ordinance itself, I think I quoted from it that there's this three-way decision in the first part of the procedure, which is whether it's the objective of the first part is it historically significant and considered for preservation? Because if it's not either of those, then that's the end of the story. If it's either not historically significant or it's historically significant but not considered for preservation, then that's the end of the story. They go on, there's no public hearing, no nothing. But if it is historically significant and considered for preservation, so there's this, then we have the demolition plan review and so forth. So there's this three-pronged thing. So it's hard to do that with one motion. It's possible if the first motion was, if someone moves that it's historically significant and considered for preservation, and that motion passes, well, then that's a done deal. We know that that's the end of the story. But there was a couple meetings back where, frankly, it was a little foggy and unclear, and that's what we're trying to avoid here. So what Caitlin has proposed is that we can separate that first, what used to be one vote, into two discrete votes. The first one simply being, is it or is it not historically significant? And I should point out here that the ordinance isn't super explicit on this, but as I understand it, there's this criterion that if a structure, a residential structure, is 75 years or older, or an accessory building is 100 years or older, it is historic. But really what it kind of means is that if it meets that criteria, they have to submit an application before the Historical Commission as part of this process. And we can determine, and we can decide, okay, yeah, it's 78 years old, but for whatever reason, we think it's not historically significant, or maybe it's historically significant, but it's falling down and it can't be saved, so it's not a candidate for preservation. Could be either of those two. Most often, if it's meets those age criteria, and and it has, maybe it's listed as contributing, maybe it has a Form B, in those cases, most often it's considered for preservation. So anyway, this makes it a little bit more clear we could take a vote first. Is it historically significant or not? If it's not, well, then the applicant moves on, no review of their plans or anything. And there is somewhat of an exposure there in that within certain limits, they're not held to whatever plans they submit at that point. Although I don't know, that's a little hazy to me, right? What the restrictions are on them. For example, if they made a slight change but don't trigger a roof line change or demolition beyond 25% and so on, would it need to come back before us? I'm thinking probably not. So in the past, by in the past, I mean going back years on the Historical Commission, the commission has tended to be on the conservative side, in the sense that if we're kind of sitting on the fence, we'll say, let's consider it for preservation so we can review the plans and have some influence over the plans and some say as to whether we think the plans are appropriate for that particular structure. And I'm sure most of you have been around where, in both cases, where we thought that the plans were not appropriate, like on Carter Street, people didn't like the dormer plan. In other cases, the plans we reviewed the plans and we thought they were fine, or maybe they just needed minor tweaking. So a lot of times they've been perfectly fine. They were approved that same meeting. Sometimes we suggested some changes. The applicant came back to the next meeting with the changes done, and they were then approved. So, that's generally how the process has worked. So that's the quote vote to, is it or is it not preferably preserved? Now, once it's voted, if a vote that it's preferably preserved is passed, then that automatically imposes the 12-month demolition delay. But as I was saying a moment ago, what the planning board does is they notify the abutters and all that, so we can have the public hearing on the demo plans, we can have public comment period, and we can review and approve the plans if we like them, or as I said before, suggest changes. And if we're content with the plans, we can go ahead and approve them right at that same meeting. So let me stop blatherating there and see what you guys think of this. If you think that, especially with that vote 1 being split up into vote 1A and 1B, if that makes sense to you folks or not. And I see Mr. Morgan has requested the floor. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I have very little to say. Congratulations. I think this is excellent. This is something we've been looking for clarity on for a while, and I like the way that you've also altered the colors at the decision points. I think that helps a lot. I mean, just having this an accurate flow chart of what we do is very, very helpful. And I think we really have to. Even though the ordinance doesn't suggest that those 1A and 1B decisions are separate, I think it helps us to understand in our minds that historical significance does not equate to preservation. We can make a decision that it is indeed historical, but it's not a structure that's important enough to impose a preferable preservation tag. So I think this is excellent. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, actually, you can thank, I had minor editorial input, but Caitlin and the staff worked on this. So thank you, Caitlin and the staff. And I'll get to you, Mark. Is that is it Mark? Yeah, I'll get to you in just one second. I just want to make one quick comment. I think that's where that meeting, if I remember correctly, there was a motion, it's historically significant and preferably preserved, that failed. So we kind of moved on. And then the staff was saying, well, but was it historically significant and not considered for preservation, or was it not historically? There was some question there. So yes, this will clarify that. Now, Mark, what did you want to say?
Well, I concur with Joe. There were a couple of caveats to this. One is the fact that we're really dependent on the application, and it seems like everything's been vetted usually pretty well. So in that regards, I'm pretty trusting of what is presented to us. But the other issue that I have trouble with is that we're sort of sometimes maybe either confused, or it gets to be a little complicated when we have to make a positive vote or negative vote. And in that regards, it makes it more complicated. And we've spent a great deal of time because of the slant that the way the motions have to be set up. And I'm wondering where that comes from. Why do we have to have, either a very positive view and vote no on it? Where's that coming from?
Yeah. I think that is kind of a rules of order type thing. I'm not sure how ironclad that is, but I understand that, and you're right. People do get thrown off by that, because we could be sitting here discussing a particular structure, and it's clear from the discussion that no one thinks it's historically significant, but the motion is the structure is historically significant, and we all have to vote no, right? So that's the kind of thing you're talking about, Mark?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So I will look into that to see if it really is a requirement that they be. I know it's customary that a motion is phrased in that sort of positive way, like something is this rather than is not. But I will look into that between now and the next meeting to see if that's an actual requirement, or if in those cases where it'd be clearer to phrase it the other way, we could do it that way.
But congratulations, a nice flow chart, and
Okay.
Kudos to you and whomever else helped you with that. I think that's super helpful.
Oh yeah, it was. Caitlin, did you have help on this? I know you'd worked on it. Did you have others as well, Diane or anyone?
It was a planning office group effort.
Okay.
And Glenn has been really helpful. He reviewed it as well. So it was a group effort.
Yep.
Yep.
I had some wording changes on some of the things. Okay, I'm going to make a note here. Let me just make a note check on whether motions need to be positive. I will look into that. Biff, as a new guy, and this is kind of you probably haven't seen this. You probably saw the old chart. Does this make sense to you from what you've looked at in the ordinances and what you've heard or looked at so far? Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think I did get confused when you were just talking about the affirming and the positive, and
yeah,
the language gets weird, but the concept of it completely makes sense to me. So
okay, and I will check on that. But I know in other, well, okay, I'll stop there because I'll just check on that. All right. Well, that's good. So, Caitlin, shall we disseminate this then? I think everyone certainly seems to find it helpful. So I think we should go ahead and send it out to the commissioners, and maybe replace, if it's posted on our webpage on the city site, replace the old one with this one.
Yes, we'll do. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. So I think we just have approval of minutes and adjournment. Now, on the approval of minutes, there's two actually. The first one, I don't think we had a quorum to approve the July 28th minutes, but I think we should now. Now, let me check in here for a second. Okay, so Malcolm, I see you're in the attendee now. Malcolm, can you check your audio, see if we can hear you? Looks like you have your audio muted. Can you test your audio, see if we can hear you?
How's that?
Oh yeah, we heard you. So, Malcolm, have you been able to follow this whole meeting so far?
I got in a little bit late. I had to switch computers.
Okay. Oh, so do you, in that case, do you want to abstain from the approval of tonight's, well, let's see, were you, last week we had you had also some computer issues. So I don't know if you were able to follow last meeting on August 11th. What was the deal with that? Were you able to?
I had problems with that.
Okay, so I'll record you as kind of absent for that. Okay, so for July 28th, Biff, you were not a member then, but we do have Andrew was here, but he's not here tonight. So let's see if we have geez, I hope we have a quorum. Let's see, we've got Mark, Morgan. Okay, if Mark, Joe, Christopher, and myself were here, so we can, I think, take and vote on motion on the minutes from July 28th. Was there any correction to those, or is there a motion to approve?
I didn't see anything egregious, so I would move to approve the minutes.
Okay,
Seconded.
Mark.
This is
Okay,
Joe,
Joe.
seconded.
Yep, thank you, Joe. Okay, so let's see, Mark, your vote on that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Joe.
Yes.
Okay, Christopher Fay.
Yes.
Okay, and the chair was fine with them as well. So we are good. Those can be posted from the 28th of July. And let's see, for the meeting of August, we had, okay, let me take out Andrew. He's not here tonight. 1 second. So Biff, you were here. That was your first meeting. So you can vote. Mark was absent. Mr. Morgan was, I think we lack a quorum for that one because Mark and Joe were absent. So we have me, Chris, Biff. If Malcolm was not able to follow because of technical difficulties, we only have 3. So we don't have a sufficient quorum to approve those minutes. So I guess we'll have to carry those forward. Do you agree with my assessment on that, Caitlin? From what
Yes, I do. So I'll let Diane in our office know to carry the minutes to the next meeting for you to vote on.
Okay. Sorry about that. Make a quick note. By the way, while we're talking about minutes, I'm going to, whenever we have, a vote and a motion, here I am saying this, but I forgot to do in that last one. I will state for the record how many votes and were carried, and I'll try to clarify for the record, especially if it's not a unanimous decision. But in any event, especially if the motion fails, why it failed, like let's say there were 5 members present and it gets 3 votes, there's some, confusion as to, well, it was a majority, why didn't it pass, and so on. So I will make that clear verbally so that the minutes will reflect that. So that'll also remove another one of those clouds of uncertainty around that. So the minutes of 28 were approved with the 4 affirmative votes of Mark, Joe, myself, and Mr. Fay. Okay, well, here it is, not even 7:30, and unless someone has something they need to bring up. Chris, did you have a question before we adjourn the meeting? You wanted to say something earlier?
No, I just had a quick question, but it's not pertinent. Well, it sort of is, but not people. I just have a quick question. So if you and Caitlin maybe just stuck around for 1 second after.
Oh, sure.
Just a personal house question.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. So is there a motion to officially adjourn the official meeting?
I make that motion, but I want to welcome Biff because I didn't welcome him at the first meeting. So welcome to the group.
I will second that motion, and I will also second the welcome to Biff.
Very good. And we did officially welcome Biff. You missed his introductory comments. They were briefly mentioned in the minutes. Biff has an interesting.
Can anybody hear me by any chance?
Now we can. Yes, sorry, Andrew.
Anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, Andrew, can you hear us? We can hear you.
I'm actually here.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I was listening. I actually in the car, so I could approve the last minutes if you wanted to do the vote.
Oh, okay. So this was from 11 August. You were at that meeting?
Yes,
Oh, okay. So, okay.
let me
So,
change my earplugs. One sec.
okay. Well,
Okay, you
okay.
can hear me now?
Yep. So hang on. Let me just make a note here. We'll
All
say,
right.
Burn.
I like your flow chart also.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Well, good, Andrew. All right. So let's go back then. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the 11th of August? And that would be up to either Mr. Fay, Mr. Bernhardt, or Biff, because Mark and Joe were not there that day.
I make the motion to approve. Andrew?
Okay, thank you, Andrew. I'll go ahead and
I'll
second it.
second. I'll
Okay,
second that.
Okay,
Chris.
Krill, let Chris second it. Okay, so Biff, your vote on that one?
Yes.
Okay, and Andrew?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Fay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So, and the chair is also affirmative, so we do have 4 affirmative votes, and we're able to approve those minutes. Excellent. Thank you, Andrew, for joining.
Yep.
I didn't think you would make today's meeting, but are you out on the West Coast?
Yeah, I'm in LA. I was listening in the car and I just ran into the hotel. So I'm all
Okay,
set
well,
after I
thank you
sat
very
in
much
traffic.
thank you
Well,
very
that's
much for
that's
your
dedication.
Right.
thank you very much for your extra effort to attend.
Okay.
Okay, now actually I think there was a motion to adjourn made by Mark and Joe, right? It's so
Yep.
that is sort of still on the floor, so to speak. So why don't we go ahead and vote on that one? Were you here for the whole meeting, Andrew?
Not the whole meeting,
Okay.
but most of it. So
Oh, actually, you. All right. Well. All right. Well, let's skip you for now. I think we have a quorum to vote on this anyway. Biff, your vote on adjourning.
Yes.
Okay. Mark Syndrome.
Yes.
Okay. Joe Morgan.
Yes.
Okay. Christopher Fay.
Yes.
And the chair is yes for a whopping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 votes. So that motion passes. We are officially adjourned. And good night, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Nice, pleasantly short meeting. And Chris will hang on for a minute if you want to ask something.
Thank you, Chair. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Good
Good
night.
night.
bye.
Enjoy the weekend.
Okay. Hey, Caitlin, you don't have any way
I
of...
do know there is one, just want to note, there is one attendee in the list.
Yeah, do you have any way of kicking them out, so to speak?
Well,
Malcolm.
No, I don't know who that is. Well, Malcolm is still listed there. Let me see what his phone
if you'd like, I can stop this and then restart it again right away.
Yeah, okay, we could do that, I suppose.
It's
Oh,
not
wait,
a
actually,
big
you know
deal.
what? Actually, the attendee has left.
Oh,
but
okay.
I'll stop recording.
If they wanted to hear this question, it would be fine.
Okay.